Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back to my channel, my Loverlies. If you've never been here before, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I am so happy you found me. I do so hope that you will like and subscribe before you leave. Become part of the Mama family. Mama's got your back, at least where makeup's concerned, and definitely when that makeup is cheap. Today is True Love Tuesday. We're doing something just a little bit different for this week's video. We're still talking about true love, but we're talking about it maybe in a different sense of the word. Everything that I am seeing online and on the news, things like that, it just seems like friendship is more important now than it has ever been. Women need to support other women. We need to have each other's backs, and I feel like there is quite a bit we could learn from Miss Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn. Their friendship is famous. It was incredibly short and cut off altogether too soon, but impacted both country music and both of their lives in a immense way. So I hope that you guys have just a little bit to sit back, relax, hang out with me for just a little while, and enjoy this amazing friendship story. If you guys don't know who Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn are, they are old school country western goddesses. They are queens of country music and truly just fantastic people. Before we jump into their story, I of course already have my makeup done, my eye makeup done. I did do a short on this. If you are interested, I will of course have the link for that and everything else that I'm going to use in today's video in the description box below. I did use the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Weirdo palette. This is just a gorgeous black and gray and red smoky palette. Absolutely stunning. They blend effortlessly. Really great quality eyeshadows. So I used this and did this really grungy, done, undone, kind of sooty eye look. There is a plan for today's look. I'm going for something a little bit vampy, a little bit deep and dark. So I'm going to go for super matte, very full glam kind of skin, heavy contour. It's a vibe. Hopefully we'll be able to get there in the end. But the whole thing that inspired today's video is these nails, and these are probably some of the prettiest nails I have worn in the longest time. They're like duochromatic. They're stunning. They're absolutely gorgeous. These are the Salon Perfect Magnetic Mirror Effect nails, y'all. These are so incredibly beautiful. I've never seen nails quite like this. I am feeling them so much. On top of that, the Salon Perfect nails have very quickly become some of my very favorites. They're super easy to put on. The shapes are fantastic. I love this shape. It's kind of like a pointed squoval kind of thing. Stunning. On top of that, they're super thick and sturdy. They stay on for absolutely forever. These are just really great quality nails, and they're super affordable as well. On top of that, you get about 30 nails in a pack. So if you get two packs, that gives you around 3 sets of nails. So it's a great value as well. I really enjoy these. If you haven't tried these, definitely go pick them up and let me know what you think about them. So if you've never been here for New Makeup Monday, I sit here and I tell you an absolutely gorgeous love story and attempt to finish my makeup by the time I'm done doing telling you the story. It doesn't always happen that way, but I do always post finished pictures over on Instagram and Facebook. The links for everything will be in the description box. I'm not going to sit here and talk too awful much more. Of course, if you guys have any questions, just let me know and I'll get back to you. So Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn, y'all, these women were absolutely just incredible. Really incredible people. So both of them came from really poor, very rural hometowns, both very country, and went on to absolutely dominate the country western scene. Their music still lives on today as absolute classics. Their music, their careers were just epic. Now, sadly for Patsy, her life was cut short very way too soon. And the friendship that we're going to be talking about today only lasted around 2 years. And you would think that a 2-year friendship probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, right? 2 years is not very long in the grand scheme of things. But the way that these two met and interacted, Patsy really helped to bring out the very best of Loretta. Patsy helped Loretta to find her inner fighter, her inner queen, right? She really helped bring this very timid, very fragile woman and make her into this big giant lioness of a woman, right? Who went on to absolutely dominate the country music scene. So I think Patsy had a lot to do with Loretta Lynn's career in the grand scheme of things. So we're going to go into a little bit of a backstory on Patsy because I really feel like she is the hero of today's story. But if you guys would like me to do a deeper dive on Loretta Lynn, I can 100% do that. Loretta Lynn's story is absolutely fantastic in and of itself, and definitely interesting. So if you guys want to hear about Loretta's story, all you got to do is let me know in the comments, and I will get that up for you guys. So Patsy was born in Virginia, September 8th, 1932. She was actually born under the name Patterson Hensley. Now, this is something that I had never known. I thought Patsy Cline was her name. Patsy Cline. I thought she was Patsy. No, her name was Patterson Hensley. And she was a born singer. She began singing and competing in different competitions at a very, very young age. And very quickly, it became pretty obvious that she was good at what she did. She had one of these voices that she just crooned. I know that there's probably a better way to say that, but if you've ever heard any of Patsy Cline's music, you'll know she just had a way of bringing out so much emotion. Her voice was just so soulful, and you could really feel emotion when you heard her sing. Absolutely wonderful. But she was not discovered very quickly. She actually was told no time and time again. And Patsy, ever the fighter, just refused to give up. She refused to give up her dream and just continued to keep on keeping on until she got to where she wanted to be. Contests when she was very young. After and very early on in her childhood, her father had walked out. Now, her father was a bit of a runaround, and her mother was her father's second wife. And what ended up happening is her father got with her mother, had a couple kids, and just decided that this wasn't what he wanted to do anymore. So he just kind of left. He just left, and her mother had to figure out how to take care of the children all on her own. And this caused Patsy to basically try to help pay the bills, right? So she started competing and singing, trying to help mom pay the bills. In September of 1952, at the age of 20, she auditioned for country band leader Clarence Bill Peer, who had a radio station in West Virginia. He liked what he heard, so he went ahead and hired her to sing full-time with his boys and girls. What was it? The boys and girls, the Melody Boys and Girls, and gave her the stage name of Patsy. And Patterson was just too much. He was like, "You're Patsy from now on." So at this point, she's Patsy Hensley, and she is playing for this. She's singing with this kind of like choir, basically, for this radio show. Then, on March 7th, 1953, she marries her first husband, Gerald E. Cline, and this is how Patsy Cline was born. And unfortunately, Patsy didn't have a ton of luck when it came to finding the right guy for her. She had a very tumultuous home life, even after she kind of moved on from hubby number one. It seems like she never really found the one for her. She just had a little bit of trouble in that arena. So after Patsy Cline was born in September of 1954, she signed her first contract yeah, she signed her first contract and recorded her first album, released in July of 1955, but it wasn't very successful. And like I said, it took Patsy quite a while to really figure out what her signature sound was, because at this point she's trying to do straight up country, and her voice is honestly just too powerful for it. There's too much emotion in her voice, and it's just not connecting with that super classic country music kind of sound. So that she's trying to figure out what to do, and she is working with a certain producer, and he's like, you need to put a little bit of a poppy edge in your music. That is what your voice is most suited to. But she is very, very resistant. She wants to be a country singer. She doesn't want to be a pop singer. So she just kind of continues to do what she thinks is right. And unfortunately, the audiences just don't connect with it. And her first album is a complete and total, not a complete and total kind of failure, but it just doesn't do well. But she continues on, and she went on to compete on Arthur Godfrey's Talent Scouts, which was a kind of televised variety show and competition. And she went on to win that competition by singing Walking After Midnight. And by March, she had the song released as a single, and it held the #2 spot on Billboard's country music chart for quite a while. Now, if you guys have never heard Patsy Cline's rendition of Walking After Midnight, I highly, highly encourage you to go check that out, because it's amazing. Walking After Midnight. It's so good. I couldn't even begin to do the justice to that song that it deserves, but it really is quite fantastic. And still an iconic song to now. And after this, she's doing pretty well. Walking After Midnight is doing extremely well. And hubby number one just can't take it. He can't take the fact that she's out and that she is succeeding. He can't take that she is making money, and really is just very frustrated that she is not the traditional wife that he wanted her to be. So they end up getting a divorce. She's like, okay, you can kick rocks, see ya later, bye. And they get divorced, and they separated, then divorced on March 28th, 1957. Then she marries hubby number two. And hubby number two's name was Charles Allen Dick. And on September 15th, 1957, after meeting him at a dance, they got married. And they ended up having 2 children, 1 boy and 1 girl. And this is where her career becomes just a little bit stagnant. So without a hit to follow up Walking After Midnight, her contract kind of goes into null and void territory, and there's just really, she's not sure what she's doing. Again, at this point, she hasn't really found her signature sound, and she's just not extremely sure of what she's doing. Did I gouge? I did. I gouged my eyeshadow. Anyway, she's not exactly sure what it is she's doing, what she wants her sound to be. So her music career takes a little bit of a background. Now, Charles, his name was Charles, right? Yeah, Charles Allen Dick. So he is in the military, he's in the army, and she just kind of lets her music career take a little bit of a backseat to that, and she becomes a housewife, right? She's got 2 children to keep after, and, they're moving constantly with his work and things like that. So her career just basically, it's not the main focus of the moment. But shortly after, he gets discharged from the army, and they decide that this is their chance to kind of work on her career just a little bit. So as soon as he gets discharged from the army, or he gets mustered out of the army, they pack their bags and they move to Nashville. And this is where things start to go just a little bit better for her career. She ends up running into a couple of people that really help her on the way, and she starts to work with different writers and things like that, and starts to get an album put together. And she began to record more songs, trying to help pay the bills, right? Because he's no longer in the army. He gets a printing job, and it's just not paying as much as they need to survive. So she goes to the Grand Ole Opry and, auditions to be part of the show. And she does get hired, and this kind of helps to supplement a little bit of bill money, and they're basically treading water at the moment. And they struggled until January 1961 when I Fall to Pieces was released. And y'all, if you've never heard I Fall to Pieces, you just don't know what you're missing out on. This is a really, really fantastic song. It absolutely blew up for very, very good reason. It's a spectacular, spectacular song. And this time when she releases her single, she doesn't take a break. She doesn't let up. She continues to work with writers and work on music, and releases after I Fall to Pieces. She actually works with Willie Nelson and comes out with the song Crazy. Crazy. I know we all know that song. It is so epic, so iconic, and so absolutely amazing. And I had no idea that Willie Nelson was the one that had helped her write that. But indeed he was. And of course that song was released and it was a gigantic hit. And Patsy Cline, the superstar that we all know and love, was born. And at this point, this is where Miss Loretta Lynn comes into the whole equation. So, pretty soon after Crazy was released, Patsy gets into an automobile accident. And this woman was incredibly accident prone. I don't know what it was about her. I don't know if she just didn't pay attention, but she got into accidents quite often. So she gets into another accident, and this lands her in the hospital. And this is where Miss Loretta Lynn comes into the picture, and this is where this very epic, beneficial kind of friendship is born. So Patsy gets into this automobile accident and she is injured pretty badly. And she is in the hospital and she's basically just healing, right? She is kind of stuck in the hospital. She can't get out. Miss Patsy is very much a doer, right? She's used to getting up, going out there, doing what she needed to do. And she's got her leg in a cast. She is wounded pretty badly. She can't get up and walk anywhere. So she's basically just stuck in the hospital room, listening to the radio. And just by chance, one night they're listening to the radio and on comes Miss Loretta. And Miss Loretta was singing a tribute to Patsy. I believe she was singing Walking After Midnight? Patsy was in the hospital. Loretta appeared on Midnight Jamboree, which was a radio show that aired after the Grand Ole Opry. And she dedicated a performance of Patsy's hit I Fall to Pieces to Patsy, hoping, wishing her well, hoping that she gets to feeling better. And when Patsy heard Loretta sing, she instantly knew that this was a very talented, incredibly talented young woman. So right after she hears Loretta's performance, she tells her husband, she was like, you need to get her here. I need to meet her. You need to make this happen. And Mr. Hubby, ever the one, ever helpful, ends up getting a hold of Miss Loretta and says, Patsy wants to meet you. She heard your performance last night. Can you come with me to the hospital? And of course, Loretta is absolutely losing her mind, right? The Patsy Cline wants to meet me. Loretta's like, sure, when do we go? So she hops in the car with Mr. Hubby and he takes her to Patsy's hospital room, and this is the first time they met. And honestly, from the very first time they met, it was like an instant bond. There was an instant sisterhood there. And I feel like what Patsy saw in Loretta was a younger version of herself. I think Patsy saw this very timid, very mousy woman and was like, and knew instantly that she was being pushed around and probably saw all kinds of things, right? And was like, I can help you. I can help you. Because at this point, Patsy is a full-blown lioness. She is, she's not going to take anybody's bullcrap. She is a strong, independent woman. And she says, you know what? I'm going to teach you how to be a strong and independent woman too. And she does, almost instantly. And Patsy was still bandaged and in pain from the accident, but they clicked immediately. Patsy was, of course, the bigger star at the time. Loretta was just now kind of busting onto the scene, and though her talent had been recognized, and they were kind of signed, they were actually signed to the same label. They were signed to the same label. So they had quite a bit in common anyway. And they were both with the same label, Decca. They worked with the same producer, Owen Bradley, and they had been born the same year, though Loretta claimed to be a few years younger than her actual age. That's fine. We all know that one lady that does it. That's okay. But they just had a lot in common. And like I said, I think Patsy saw quite a bit of herself in Loretta. So instant friendship is formed. And if it hadn't been easy for either of them to get to Nashville. Loretta was born a coal miner's daughter with 4 children who had come to Nashville with not much more than her $17 guitar. Very, very poor, and just in a really bad place. Starving artist, basically. And on top of the fact that Loretta is trying to build this career, trying to make something of herself, on top of having to take care of 4 children and, everything like that. It was incredibly difficult. And I think Patsy immediately just kind of like took pity on her and was like, I can help you. I'm going to help you. We can make this happen. So they instantly get to a place of sisterhood, right? There's an instant sisterhood kind of bond there. And Patsy immediately takes Loretta under her wing. And Loretta was such a generous and giving person. I have quite a few quotes that I want to share with you guys about Miss Patsy because she was such a motherly, big sister vibes all day long. And she really just immediately took to Loretta and really just tried to help her and never wanted anything in return, right? There was never any ulterior motive for Patsy helping Loretta. There was no, because Loretta was a virtual unknown. There was nothing to be gained from helping her, right? And literally just did it because she saw a young woman struggling to break into Nashville, break into country music, and knew that she was in a place where she could help. So that's what she did. Patsy invited Loretta to go on the road with her and gave Loretta pointers on how to style her hair, how to wear heels and use makeup. And Loretta said of Patsy in 1985, she taught me everything about singing, about how to act on stage, how to stagger the numbers, and how to dress. If Loretta couldn't afford groceries or even drapes for her house, Patsy was always there. And again, this kind of clicks into Patsy being such a generous woman. Patsy would invite Loretta over to her house, and basically Loretta would leave with a car full of stuff every single time. When I'd go over, she would be cooking for me, and when everything was over, she would start digging in our clothes, finding little old stuff for me to wear, like sweaters and stuff. And she'd load me down before the night was over. Patsy even gave her Patsy even gave Loretta undies. And Loretta would later say she wore them undies for years. She said them panties was the best panties I'd ever seen. Y'all, and you got to think about it being a very different time as well. Like if you bought nice clothes, you wore those nice clothes until they didn't wear it anymore. And on top of that, things were made better back then as well. Because you think, oh, well, you would never share panties with somebody now, but things happen. And when you can't afford to put groceries in your house and somebody offers you, well, here's some undies, if you don't have any, you can wear these, baby, you're going to take them. You're going to take them. And especially when you idolize that person as much as Loretta idolized Patsy, of course you're going to take him. And it's going to become a kind of treasured piece of your wardrobe. She wore them until they couldn't be worn anymore. Patsy even stood up for Loretta when she was being ostracized by other women in the industry. Now, again, this is something I see happening even now when women are just kind of like, I don't know what it is about women, but we have this thing where we will hold others down because we think that there isn't enough room at the top for all of us, right? And I'm not saying all of us as in like me, or not singling anyone out, but it is something that I've been hearing a lot, especially on TikTok. I've been hearing a lot of women talk about the fact that women don't stand up and don't support other women because we're so terrified that there isn't enough room for all of us at the table. And again, that's how these women back then felt. They were very, very upset because Loretta was getting so many bookings on Grand Old Opry. What does it say? It said they were jealous that she was getting received so many invitations to perform at the Opry. When Patsy heard that these women were getting together to try to stop Loretta's Opry appearances, she showed up at the meeting with Loretta in tow. And Loretta said, "Patsy put the stamp of approval on me, and I never had any problems with any of them ever again." And this is, again, it's so powerful. Women standing up for women taking care of each other, having each other's backs. Nobody's going to do it if we don't do it for ourselves. And I just feel like, again, we just have so much we could learn from Patsy. It just seems like she just didn't have that kind of mindset at all. It just seems like she really was genuinely so there for Loretta and there for helping her with her career. It's so beautiful. And it is such a true, unclouded, it's so beautiful. It just makes me so happy. And I can sadly, honestly say that I've never experienced a friendship like that. I've never experienced a friendship where there wasn't some kind of cattiness or there wasn't some kind of petty jealousy. I feel like it's really, really difficult for women to get together and not see each other as competition. And when it came to Patsy, part of it could just be that Patsy just knew she was the stuff and just wasn't scared of anybody else. And I think with that, there comes a giant amount of freedom, right? Because when you're secure in yourself, you don't have to worry about doing any of that. And she was so confident and so secure in her place, not only in country music, but in life and who she was as a person, that she didn't see Loretta as competition. And that opened the door for friendship, right? Because you can't be friends with somebody you want to beat, right? You can't be friends with somebody you're in a race with. Like, it just doesn't happen that way. So working her way up in a male-dominated field, of country music, had taught Patsy to stand up for herself, like insisting on getting paid before gigs. She had many different instances when she had gone on stage, and then when she got off, she had tried to get paid, and the owners of the stadium or whatever she was playing at would try to shortchange her. She just basically really taught Loretta the ropes. She taught Loretta how to take care of herself, how to take care of her profession and her career. And she gave Loretta tips that nobody else would have given her, right? Because at this point, Loretta is still very naive. She's still very, very young mentally, especially. And of course, the men in her life want to keep her that way because she's easily manipulated. Ignorance is bliss, especially to men who want to use that ignorance to their advantage. And Patsy put a stop to that. She put a stop to that very, very quickly and was like, "Nope, that's not how this is going to go. This is what you need to do. This is what you have to do to get it done." And Loretta just kind of soaked it up like a sponge. She soaked up the knowledge, and with that knowledge came such a deep gratitude, right? She is so grateful for this woman for just being there for her, and especially at a point in her life where everything is so overwhelming and everything is moving so quickly. It's hard to just kind of basically catch your breath and breathe for a second when you're on such shaky ground. And Patsy was just her rock, her absolute rock. And Patsy's example helped Loretta to gather her own courage and really learn how to stand up for herself, and really helped her to take herself seriously, right? Helped her to realize that she was an imposter. There was no imposter syndrome going on. Like, she had worked hard for this. She had the talent and she deserved what was happening. After I met Patsy, life got better for me because she taught me how to fight back. Before that, I just took it. I had to. I was 3,000 miles away from my mom and dad and had 4 kids. There was nothing I could do about it. But later on, I started speaking my mind when things weren't right. Then in 1963, Patsy's career was reaching new heights. Patsy's career, she is absolutely taking off. She's come out with hit after hit after hit. People are absolutely adoring her music. They're loving her sound. She's finally kind of accepted a little bit of that poppier kind of note in her music, and she's really just connecting with audiences, right? Thanks in large part to her song Crazy. In March, Patsy performed at a benefit concert in Kansas City, but on her way home, the small plane that she was in went down over Camden, Tennessee. And then Patsy, along with everyone else on board, unfortunately did not survive the crash, and her life tragically ended far, far, far too soon. Now, as can be expected, this was absolutely devastating, not only to Patsy's family, but also to Loretta. Loretta had begun to really depend on Patsy for so much at this time. She was the big sister she never had, and to just wake up one morning and realize that she's gone and, you know, she'll never get to see her again was absolutely heartbreaking. And Loretta, in her grief, was absolutely just destroyed. But she didn't let this break her. She took the time to really go and check on Charles, make sure that Charles was okay. She really helped with, because remember, Patsy had 2 children, both a boy and a girl. She really stepped in and really helped Patsy's family get through this super, super tough time. And eventually she was able to move on and heal from this tragedy. Now, even though she was able to move on and heal from it, doesn't mean that Patsy was forgotten. When I heard that morning that Patsy was gone, I said out loud, what am I going to do without her? It was like the rug had been pulled out from under me. She was my friend, my mentor. She was my strength. And then all of a sudden she's gone, and it's like you feel bereft, right? You feel like you don't know what to do. You feel like you don't have a leg to stand on anymore. You just basically don't know what to do with yourself. So instead of letting it break her, she did what Patsy always told her to do, right? She just took it one step at a time. She just kept on keeping on, and eventually she was able to really move past it. And she was really, really essential in helping Charles to continue as well. Now, Charles and Patsy did have quite a few problems. Their marriage wasn't perfect, but there was real love there. And he really did adore Patsy. And of course, she was an absolutely fantastic mother to her children. But if there was one thing that Loretta had learned from Patsy, it was that Patsy was always regretful about the fact that she had to spend so much time away from her children. She was on the road continuously and never did bring her children with her on the road. And because of this, Loretta made a point to bring her children on tour. And now I'm sure some people may disagree with that, but in my opinion, as long as they're getting the education that they need to get, and as long as it's not hurting them physically or mentally, I see no problem in the world with her having her children be with her. So that's what she did. She took her children out on tour, and she never regretted that decision. And she said the reason she took her children out on tour was in large part due to the fact that Patsy had told her that she really regretted all of the time that she had missed with her children. And Loretta remembered Patsy's lessons even after she was gone. She vowed to treat newcomers with respect, just like Patsy had done. Patsy didn't let nobody tell her what to do. She done what she felt, and if a man got in her way, she let him know that he couldn't stand there. I love that quote. It's one of my favorites. When Loretta had twin daughters in 1964, one of those girls was named Patsy, of course. Then a few years later, Loretta chose a few of Patsy's songs for her 1977 album, I Remember Patsy. And it was heralded as basically one of the most perfect tribute albums ever created. And this was by the Rolling Stone. So a really, really well done tribute album. And even later on and into the very end of her life, she never forgot Patsy. She always credited Patsy for being one of her biggest role models, one of her biggest supporters, and one of the biggest reasons she was able to go on and have the career that she was able to have, because Patsy was there in the beginning to help her to help her figure things out, and to help her persevere, and taught her how to not give up. She wasn't just a person that sang. She had greatness, and I think that came across in a little time we had with her. And that's the end of today's story. I know it's really, really sad, but I also think that with the current climate and everything that's going on out there, I just think it is so important now more than ever that we come together as women, as people even, and just remember to support each other. Remember that even the smallest bit of kindness can sometimes have the biggest effect on somebody's life. And yeah, let's just try to remember that in our everyday lives. You know what I mean? Guys, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I really, really enjoyed telling it to you guys. Loretta and Patsy they're a friendship that I pray for. I pray that I get to experience something like that in my life before I pass on. I'm really hopeful that you have been able to experience a friendship like that. If there's somebody in your life, if you have a Patsy in your life, I would love to hear about it in the comments. I think it is so beautiful, the friendship that women are capable of, and the fellowship that we're capable of, as long as we put that jealousy and as long as we put that competition aside. I really think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I didn't get my makeup finished, but I will, of course, be posting finished pictures over on Instagram and Facebook. I will have everything that I used to complete today's look in the description box below, as well as the link to the TikTok on today's look. When I post the TikToks and the shorts, all that stuff, I always have a full product list, so you can always go check those out if you're, curious as to what I use. As always, no filters, no edits, no fancy lighting. It's just me sitting in front of my camera telling you guys a love story, hoping you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. And until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and remember, you're important. Bye.